In the farthest reaches of the galaxy, where stars shimmered like scattered diamonds against the velvet expanse of space, there existed a realm unlike any other. The Crystal Dominion, as it was known, was a breathtaking empire of crystalline structures that refracted light into cascading rainbows, casting an ethereal glow across its floating islands. These islands, suspended in defiance of gravity, were connected by delicate bridges of spun crystal that hummed with an otherworldly resonance when traversed. At the heart of this celestial wonderland stood the Luminal Palace, a towering structure of interlocking prisms that seemed to breathe with its own inner light. The inhabitants of this extraordinary domain were no less remarkable than their surroundings. The crystalline beings, as they called themselves, possessed translucent bodies that glimmered with shifting hues, reflecting not only their emotions but also their very essence. Their forms were elegant and fluid, capable of reshaping themselves while maintaining their crystalline nature. Among these beings, none shone brighter than Princess Luminara, the sole heir to the Crystal Throne. Princess Luminara's presence was nothing short of mesmerizing. Her crystalline form radiated a soft, pulsating glow that shifted between opalescent whites and iridescent blues, hinting at the depth of her emotions and thoughts. Unlike the rigid protocols that governed most royal courts, Luminara had always been different. Curious about the universe beyond her crystalline borders, questioning the ancient traditions that had shaped her people for millennia. Her chamber, unlike the geometric perfection of the palace halls, was filled with organic shapes and flowing designs, a testament to her unique perspective on life. As she prepared for what should have been the happiest day of her existence, Luminara found herself standing before her reflection in a pool of liquid crystal. The surface rippled gently, distorting her image in ways that mirrored the turmoil within her heart. Today was to be her wedding day, a union carefully orchestrated by the Crystal Council to strengthen alliances with the neighboring Prism Kingdom. Her betrothed, Prince Caliph, was everything tradition demanded: noble, accomplished, and possessing a crystalline structure so pure it was said to rival the ancient Heartstone itself. Yet as Luminara gazed into the reflective pool, she couldn't help but feel the weight of expectation pressing down upon her like the gravity that failed to claim their floating islands. Her people awaited this union with bated breath, seeing it as the dawn of a new era for their civilization. The preparations had been underway for cycles, each detail meticulously planned to honor the ancient customs of their kind. The Great Hall of Resonance had been adorned with crystalline blossoms that sang softly in the cosmic winds, and the ceremonial bridges connecting the two royal families' domains had been reinforced with threads of starlight. But beneath the surface of this grand celebration, something stirred within Luminara, a yearning she couldn't quite name, a restlessness that refused to be silenced by the comforting hum of her people's approval. As she watched the colors dance across her crystalline form, she wondered if perhaps there was more to existence than the perfect symmetry of their world, more to love than the calculated harmony of arranged unions. The thought lingered like a rogue prism in an otherwise perfect array, catching the light in unexpected ways and scattering it into realms unknown. On a distant blue planet, orbiting a modest yellow star, lived Dr. Elias Thorne, a xenobiologist whose fascination with alien lifeforms had driven him to the edges of human understanding. His laboratory, nestled in the remote mountains of Norway, housed specimens from dozens of worlds, each carefully preserved and studied in its own specialized environment. Yet among all his research, one project consumed him more than any other: the mysterious energy signatures emanating from the vicinity of the Crystal Dominion. For years, Elias had detected patterns in these signals that defied conventional explanation. They weren't random cosmic phenomena or natural stellar emissions. They carried complex harmonics that suggested intelligent design. His instruments recorded sequences that aligned with mathematical constants and musical scales, though translated through a crystalline medium he could barely comprehend. The breakthrough came during a particularly intense solar storm, when the interference revealed a hidden layer of communication, a distress signal encoded in crystalline frequencies. The message wasn't directed at Earth, nor was it meant for human ears. But Elias, with his unique combination of biological expertise and quantum physics knowledge, had developed a way to interpret these alien communications. What he discovered shook him to his core. The Crystal Dominion faced an unprecedented crisis, one that threatened not just their civilization but potentially countless others throughout the galaxy. The Heartstone, the ancient crystalline matrix that maintained the stability of their entire realm, was deteriorating faster than their scientists could repair it. Driven by both scientific curiosity and a growing sense of responsibility, Elias worked tirelessly to decipher more of the transmissions. He learned of the upcoming royal wedding, not as a celebration of love but as a desperate attempt to merge two powerful crystalline bloodlines in hopes of strengthening their collective ability to combat the Heartstone's decay. The irony wasn't lost on him. How often had human history repeated similar patterns, sacrificing personal happiness for perceived greater good? When the Crystal Council detected his unauthorized interception of their communications, rather than silencing him, they did something unprecedented. They reached out. Through a series of carefully constructed crystalline projections, they established contact with the human scientist. What began as cautious exchanges evolved into something more profound. Elias shared his theories about crystalline biology, drawing parallels between their energy-based physiology and certain quantum states observed in human neural networks. The crystal beings, in turn, revealed aspects of their culture and the true nature of their predicament. The connection deepened when Elias demonstrated an uncanny ability to resonate with their crystalline frequencies. During one experimental communication session, he discovered he could actually influence the crystalline patterns through focused meditation and specific sound frequencies. This revelation stunned both parties. No non-crystalline being had ever achieved such a feat. The implications were staggering. Perhaps the solution to their crisis lay not in traditional crystalline unions, but in something entirely different. As the wedding preparations intensified in the Crystal Dominion, Elias found himself drawn deeper into their world. The Council, recognizing the potential significance of his abilities, made a decision that would alter the course of both civilizations. They invited him to attend the ceremony, ostensibly as an honored guest and scientific observer. But beneath this diplomatic gesture lay a more profound purpose, one that neither Elias nor Princess Luminara could have anticipated. The day of the royal wedding arrived with a brilliance that seemed to outshine even the most spectacular cosmic displays. The Hall of Resonance pulsed with crystalline energy as guests from across the Dominion gathered to witness the union of two ancient bloodlines. Princess Luminara stood at the threshold of the ceremonial bridge, her crystalline form shimmering with nervous anticipation. Beside her, Prince Caliph waited with regal poise, his structure perfectly aligned with the ancient traditions they were about to uphold. Elias Thorne entered the hall with a mixture of awe and trepidation. The invitation had come as both an honor and a challenge, to witness this sacred ceremony as humanity's representative, yet knowing his presence might disrupt centuries-old customs. As he moved through the gathering, he felt the weight of countless crystalline gazes upon him, their varying hues reflecting a spectrum of emotions from curiosity to skepticism. The air vibrated with harmonic frequencies that resonated through his very being, making his skin tingle with unfamiliar sensations. The ceremony began with traditional crystalline rites, each movement choreographed to precise energetic alignments. Luminara and Caliph approached the Heartstone altar, their forms beginning to merge in the initial stages of the bonding ritual. It was then that the unexpected occurred. A sudden surge of crystalline energy erupted from the Heartstone itself, creating a cascade of rainbow-colored fractures that spread throughout the hall. Guests gasped as their crystalline bodies began to resonate uncontrollably with the disturbance. In that moment of chaos, Elias felt an irresistible pull toward the altar. Without conscious thought, he stepped forward, his human form somehow stabilizing the wild energy fluctuations. The crystalline beings watched in astonishment as the human scientist moved between the royal couple and the Heartstone. Luminara turned to face him, her crystalline eyes meeting his human ones, and in that instant, something unprecedented occurred. Their energies synchronized in a way that defied both human and crystalline understanding. The Crystal Council intervened, their voices rising in harmonic concern. Yet even as they attempted to restore order, the Heartstone responded to Elias's presence in ways it never had to any crystalline being. Ancient patterns long dormant within the matrix began to awaken, responding to the unique frequency of human consciousness. Luminara felt her crystalline structure vibrating with new possibilities, her predetermined path suddenly illuminated by choices she had never dared to consider. As the ceremony ground to an uncertain halt, whispers spread through the assembly. Some viewed Elias's intervention as sacrilege, while others saw it as destiny. The traditional union between Luminara and Caliph now hung in the balance, replaced by questions that challenged the very foundation of their society. Could a human truly bond with a crystalline being? Would such a union strengthen or weaken their connection to the Heartstone? Most importantly, could love transcend the boundaries between their fundamentally different existences? The atmosphere in the Hall of Resonance shifted from ceremonial reverence to electric tension. Luminara found herself caught between two forces, the ancient traditions represented by Caliph and the council, and the unexpected connection she felt with Elias. Her crystalline form flickered with conflicting emotions, casting prismatic shadows across the chamber walls. The human scientist stood frozen, aware that his presence had disrupted more than just a wedding ceremony. He had challenged the fundamental order of an entire civilization. Elias Thorne felt the weight of countless crystalline eyes upon him, their gazes piercing through his human facade to the core of his being. Each glance carried a question he couldn't answer. Why had the Heartstone responded to him, a mere mortal from a distant planet? The crystalline energy still coursed through his body, leaving trails of warmth along his nervous system that felt both foreign and familiar. He watched as Princess Luminara's form shimmered with uncertainty, her crystalline structure oscillating between traditional alignment with Caliph and an unprecedented resonance with his own human frequency. The Crystal Council convened in urgent deliberation, their forms merging and separating in complex patterns that reflected the gravity of their discussion. Some members argued that Elias's presence was an affront to their sacred traditions, while others pointed to the undeniable evidence of his unique compatibility with their crystalline essence. The Heartstone itself seemed to pulse with agreement, its ancient matrix displaying patterns that hadn't emerged in millennia. These patterns, interpreted by the Council's most learned seers, suggested that the human's presence might hold the key to stabilizing their deteriorating realm. Luminara found herself torn between duty and destiny. Her crystalline heritage demanded she fulfill her role in uniting two powerful bloodlines, yet her very structure vibrated with the possibility of something greater. She watched Elias struggle to maintain his composure, his human form betraying subtle signs of stress despite his attempts to appear calm. The contrast between his physical limitations and her people's fluid crystalline nature created an impossible equation. How could two such different beings possibly form a union? The situation grew more complex as news of the ceremony's disruption spread throughout the Dominion. Citizens gathered outside the Hall of Resonance, their crystalline forms creating a sea of shifting colors that reflected the collective anxiety of their society. Traditionalists called for immediate expulsion of the human intruder, while progressives saw this as an opportunity to evolve beyond their ancient constraints. The very fabric of their civilization trembled on the edge of transformation, much like the increasingly unstable Heartstone at the center of their realm. Elias wrestled with his own doubts and fears. He had dedicated his life to studying alien life forms, but never imagined becoming entangled in their most intimate affairs. The scientific part of his mind raced to understand the bioenergetic phenomenon occurring between himself and the princess, while his human heart struggled with the implications of what was unfolding. Was he merely a tool for their survival, or did fate intend something more profound? The lines between scientific observation and emotional involvement blurred dangerously as he felt his consciousness begin to synchronize with the crystalline frequencies surrounding him. As night fell over the Crystal Dominion, casting long prismatic shadows across the floating islands, Princess Luminara found herself unable to sleep. Her crystalline form rested atop her bed of woven starlight, but her thoughts churned with the day's events. Through the transparent walls of her chamber, she could see Elias's temporary quarters, where the human scientist paced restlessly. Their eyes met across the distance, and for a moment, their different natures seemed irrelevant. They were simply two beings caught in the same cosmic storm. The following days brought mounting pressure from all sides. The Crystal Council demanded answers, organizing daily sessions where Elias demonstrated his unique ability to stabilize crystalline energy fields. Each demonstration left him physically exhausted but mentally exhilarated, as he pushed the boundaries of human capability further than ever before. Luminara attended these sessions, watching with growing admiration as the human scientist navigated their complex crystalline science with intuition that rivaled their most experienced practitioners. Their interactions became more frequent, each encounter revealing new layers of understanding between their species. Elias discovered that prolonged exposure to crystalline energy was subtly altering his human biology, enhancing his perception and sensitivity to their frequency-based communication. Luminara, in turn, found her crystalline structure adapting to his presence, developing new facets that resonated specifically with human emotional wavelengths. These changes frightened some members of the council, who feared the dilution of their pure crystalline heritage. The political ramifications grew more severe with each passing cycle. Representatives from the Prism Kingdom arrived, demanding explanations for the disruption of the arranged union. Their crystalline emissaries clashed with progressive elements within the Dominion, creating rifts that threatened to fracture their society. Rumors spread of other potential suitors emerging from various crystalline factions, each claiming to offer solutions to their crisis while secretly vying for power. Amidst this turmoil, Luminara and Elias found themselves drawn together by necessity and something deeper. Late-night conversations revealed shared values and complementary perspectives. Her crystalline wisdom balanced by his human ingenuity, his scientific curiosity matched by her intuitive understanding of energy dynamics. They began working together on experimental approaches to stabilizing the Heartstone, combining human innovation with crystalline tradition in ways that surprised even the most skeptical observers. Yet with each success came new challenges. The Heartstone's response to their combined efforts revealed previously unknown properties, aspects of crystalline energy that seemed to require both human and crystalline input to fully manifest. These discoveries forced them to confront difficult questions about the nature of their connection and its implications for both their peoples. Were they merely solving a technical problem, or were they forging a new path for interspecies relationships? The situation reached a critical point when the Heartstone began exhibiting unprecedented behavior, its crystalline matrix forming patterns that suggested sentience beyond anything previously understood. These patterns appeared to communicate directly with Elias, using a combination of visual and emotional impressions that bypassed traditional language barriers. Luminara witnessed these exchanges with growing concern, recognizing that the Heartstone was essentially proposing a union between their two species, a concept that challenged every aspect of their cultural identity. As they worked together, their individual struggles became increasingly intertwined. Elias battled the physical toll of constant crystalline exposure, while Luminara grappled with the social consequences of her growing attachment to a human. Their private moments became sanctuaries from the mounting pressure, spaces where they could explore their connection without judgment. Yet even these moments carried the weight of countless expectations, each touch of crystalline to human flesh charged with the potential to change the course of two civilizations. The Crystal Dominion found itself teetering on the edge of transformation, its citizens divided between those who saw salvation in the human crystalline connection and those who viewed it as an existential threat. Protests erupted across the floating islands, crystalline forms clashing in kaleidoscopic displays of dissent. Traditionalists organized demonstrations outside the Luminal Palace, their structured formations vibrating with disapproval, while progressives countered with fluid arrangements that embraced change. The very air seemed charged with conflicting energies, threatening to destabilize the already precarious balance of their realm. Within the palace walls, tensions reached a boiling point during a council session where Elias presented his latest findings. The data showed that continued human-crystalline interaction was not only stabilizing the Heartstone but actually enhancing its capabilities beyond historical records. However, this revelation sparked outrage among conservative members, who accused Elias of manipulating their sacred matrix for human gain. Princess Luminara stood firm beside him, her crystalline form glowing with determination, as she defended their collaborative work and its potential to save their civilization. The situation grew more complex when representatives from neighboring crystalline systems arrived, each bringing their own agendas. Some saw an opportunity to annex the weakened dominion, while others offered alliances contingent upon severing ties with humanity. Diplomatic negotiations became a delicate dance of crystalline politics, with Elias and Luminara at the center of increasingly intricate power plays. The human scientist found himself navigating not just scientific challenges but also the subtle nuances of crystalline diplomacy, where every shift in color and frequency carried multiple layers of meaning. Meanwhile, the Heartstone itself seemed to take on a life of its own, its ancient matrix responding to the growing connection between Luminara and Elias in unpredictable ways. New crystalline structures began forming spontaneously throughout the Dominion, creating bridges between previously isolated islands and opening portals to unexplored regions of space. These changes brought both opportunity and danger, as some areas became too unstable for habitation while others revealed resources and knowledge long thought lost. The personal stakes rose dramatically when Luminara's crystalline structure began undergoing permanent alterations. Her form started developing human-like characteristics, subtle opacities that allowed for more defined facial features, and a warmth that radiated from her core in ways unprecedented for their species. These changes drew both fascination and fear from her people, with some viewing her evolution as a sign of divine intervention while others saw it as contamination of their pure crystalline heritage. Elias faced his own transformation, though of a different nature. Prolonged exposure to crystalline energy was enhancing his cognitive abilities, allowing him to perceive and manipulate energy fields in ways that defied human limitations. Yet this enhancement came at a cost. Periods of disorientation when his human brain struggled to process the flood of crystalline information, and moments of isolation when he realized how far he'd drifted from purely human experience. Their relationship became a crucible of evolution, forcing both species to confront uncomfortable truths about identity and belonging. As they worked together to navigate these challenges, their bond deepened in ways that transcended simple cooperation. Shared victories in stabilizing the Heartstone alternated with painful setbacks that tested their resolve. Each success brought them closer to proving the viability of their connection, while each failure highlighted the risks of their unprecedented union. The line between professional collaboration and personal affection blurred until it became impossible to distinguish where one ended and the other began. The Dominion's future hung in the balance, with every decision carrying implications that rippled through both their immediate society and potentially the entire galaxy. The question of whether to embrace this new path or return to traditional ways became less about choice and more about survival. Not just physical survival, but the preservation of what it meant to be crystalline in a universe that was rapidly changing around them. Each day brought new revelations, new challenges, and new opportunities to redefine what was possible when two vastly different species chose to meet halfway across the vast expanse of space and consciousness. As the crisis deepened, a revelation emerged that shattered everything Elias and Luminara thought they understood about their connection. During one of their late-night experiments with the Heartstone, a hidden archive within the ancient matrix activated unexpectedly. Streams of crystalline data unfolded before them, revealing fragments of a forgotten history, records of an era long before the Crystal Dominion's current civilization had taken shape. These archives spoke of a time when crystalline beings were not alone in the galaxy. They had once shared their realm with other species, including beings remarkably similar to humans. The discovery sent shockwaves through the Dominion. The Crystal Council convened an emergency session, their forms pulsating with conflicting emotions as they processed the implications. For millennia, their people had believed themselves to be the sole inheritors of the Heartstone's power, guardians of a sacred legacy untainted by external influence. Yet here was undeniable evidence that their ancestors had coexisted, and even collaborated, with organic life forms. Some council members viewed this as validation of Elias and Luminara's bond, while others saw it as a dangerous precedent that could unravel the very fabric of their society. Elias found himself grappling with the weight of this revelation. The human-like figures depicted in the crystalline records bore striking resemblances to early humans, but there were subtle differences: elongated limbs, translucent skin, and faint prismatic glows emanating from their bodies. Were these beings truly human, or something else entirely? Had humanity evolved separately, or were they descendants of those who had once walked among the crystalline ancestors? Each question opened doors to new mysteries, forcing him to reconsider not just the nature of his relationship with Luminara, but also the origins of his own species. For Luminara, the revelation brought both clarity and confusion. Her crystalline form resonated with the images from the archive, as if recognizing a part of herself she hadn't known existed. She began experiencing vivid dreams, or perhaps memories, that felt alien yet familiar. In these visions, she saw crystalline beings working alongside organic creatures, their combined efforts stabilizing entire star systems. There were moments of harmony, laughter, and shared purpose, but also glimpses of conflict, betrayal, and loss. It was as though the Heartstone itself was trying to warn her, urging caution even as it encouraged unity. The political fallout was immediate and intense. Traditionalists seized on the archives as proof that their ancestors had abandoned interspecies cooperation for good reason, citing cryptic references to the fracture, a catastrophic event that had nearly destroyed the Dominion. Progressives, however, argued that the fracture was precisely why they needed to embrace change now, to prevent history from repeating itself. Debates raged across the floating islands, crystalline voices rising in harmonic dissonance as factions clashed over how to interpret the past and what it meant for the future. Amidst the chaos, Elias and Luminara found themselves increasingly isolated. Their presence together became a lightning rod for controversy, drawing both supporters and detractors into heated confrontations. One evening, as they retreated to a secluded garden of crystalline flora, they were ambushed by a group of radical traditionalists. The attackers hurled accusations at Elias, calling him an impostor sent to corrupt their people, while others pleaded with Luminara to abandon her connection to him and restore order. The encounter left both physically unharmed but emotionally shaken, underscoring the growing dangers of their alliance. Yet despite the mounting pressure, neither could deny the profound impact they were having on each other, and on the Heartstone. Their combined energies continued to unlock new layers of its potential, revealing capabilities that defied explanation. During one particularly intense session, they discovered that the Heartstone could project holographic maps of distant galaxies, showing regions where crystalline energy signatures overlapped with organic life forms. These maps suggested that the Dominion was not unique. There were other realms out there where similar unions might already exist, or could be possible. This realization sparked a bold idea. What if the solution to their crisis lay not just in stabilizing the Heartstone, but in forging connections beyond their borders? What if their union could serve as a bridge to other civilizations, creating a network of cooperation that transcended species and tradition? The concept was revolutionary and terrifying. It challenged not only the Dominion's isolationist policies, but also the fundamental belief that crystalline beings were meant to stand apart from the rest of the universe. As they explored this possibility, Elias and Luminara faced another challenge. The physical toll their connection was taking on both of them. Elias's body struggled to adapt to the constant influx of crystalline energy, leaving him weakened and prone to episodes of sensory overload. Meanwhile, Luminara's crystalline structure was undergoing irreversible changes, her form becoming more opaque and less fluid with each passing day. They knew they couldn't continue like this indefinitely, yet neither could they bring themselves to separate. Their struggles came to a head during a pivotal moment in the Hall of Resonance. The Crystal Council had called for a final decision. Would Luminara proceed with the arranged union to Prince Caliph, or would she choose to pursue an unprecedented path with Elias? As the Dominion gathered to witness her choice, the atmosphere crackled with anticipation. Crystalline forms shimmered with anxiety, casting fractured rainbows across the chamber. When Luminara stepped forward, her voice resonated with a clarity that silenced the crowd. "I cannot deny who I am," she declared, her crystalline form glowing with determination. "Nor can I ignore the truth revealed by the Heartstone. Our ancestors chose separation because they feared what they did not understand. But we are stronger than fear. We must evolve, or perish." Her words ignited a storm of reactions. Cheers erupted from progressive supporters, while cries of outrage filled the air from traditionalists. Before the council could respond, the Heartstone pulsed violently, its core splitting open to reveal a radiant, pulsating light. From within emerged a figure neither fully crystalline nor fully human, a being of pure energy that seemed to embody the essence of both species. It moved toward Luminara and Elias, enveloping them in a warm, golden glow that resonated through every corner of the Dominion. And then, just as suddenly as it appeared, the figure vanished, leaving behind a single crystalline shard suspended between them. The shard pulsed with a rhythm that matched their heartbeats, binding them together in ways neither science nor tradition could explain. As the Dominion watched in stunned silence, Elias and Luminara reached out simultaneously, their hands meeting around the shard. In that moment, the boundaries between human and crystalline dissolved, not completely, but enough to suggest that a new chapter was beginning. What happened next would determine not only their fate but the future of two civilizations, and perhaps the entire galaxy.